Hi everyone, here we go with lesson 2 problem set. Same rules as before. If you get behind, just press pause, catch yourself up, and then press play again. I will try to be quick so that this video isn't 17 hours long because we know that you don't want to sit through that, and neither do I. Here we go. It says use the arrays below to answer each set of questions. So we are still working on multiplication. We'll be working on that for a while, but now we are talking about arrays, which are really just images or visual representations that show us kind of how multiplication works, okay? So on number 1, we have some cars here. It says, question A, how many rows of cars are there? And so rows go from left to right this direction. Okay, so if I were to draw lines to kind of separate, there's 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, and 4 rows, number 4. And then part B, how many cars are there in each row? So if this is a row, how many cars do you see? 1, 2. There are 2 in every single row because remember, multiplication really is about equal groups, and arrays show that very well. So we have 4 equal groups of 2 cars in each group or in each row. Number 2, I'm not sure what those are. It's kind of hard to tell, but maybe oranges or we're going to go with oranges. I don't know. Let me see if I can zoom you a little bit. There we go. So it says, what's the number of rows? So we have 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows. And then what is the number of objects in each row? So remember, they are all equal groups. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 objects in each row. And you can count all of them if you want to, just to prove to yourself that they really are equal groups. So 3 groups of 6 is what we have right there. On to number 3. Ooh, I know what those are. Those are spoons. And it even tells me in the problem. It says there are 4 spoons in each row. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. How many spoons are in 2 rows? So this time you can see that we have 2 rows of spoons. They want to know how many are there all together. So if I were to skip count, I would be counting by 4s because they're in groups of 4. And so I would count 4, and 4 more is 8. So in 2 rows of 4, there are 8 total spoons. Part B, write a multiplication fact to describe the array. So this is where we're going to go back to our lesson 1 knowledge, okay? And so if I have 4 in each row, but I have 2 rows, really what I have is 2 groups of, which means multiply, 2 groups of 4. And then I just found out up here that the total was 8, so I want to make sure to include that in my fact as well. 2 groups of 4 equals 8, or 2 times 4. It seems a little backwards, right? You maybe want to write 4 times 2, and that's not necessarily wrong, but if we're going to keep reminding ourselves that we're talking about groups of, it's easier to think about it this way because we know that groups of means multiply. Number 4, see if I can get you to see it. There we go. Those are triangles, okay? And I see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, and in each row there are 4. 5 rows of 4 is what I'm working with. Part A, there are 5 rows of triangles. How many triangles are in each row? We just answered that one. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 in each row. Part B, write a multiplication fact to describe the total number of triangles. Okay, so if I have 5 groups of means multiply, and then they are groups of 4, how many total do I have? So this time I need to skip count by 4s in order to find the total, and I can use this array to help me count if I want to. So but the counting by 4s is a little trickier than counting by 2s or 5s or something like that. So I can use my array to keep track of my count by if I want to. So at the end of the first row I have a total of 4. At the end of the second row I have 4 more, which is a total of 8. At the end of the third row it's 4 more, which is 12. At the end of the fourth row, I have 4 more, which is 16. And at the end of the fifth row, I have 4 more, which is 20. So 5 rows of 4, or 5 times 4, is a total of 20 triangles. On to the back page. We are cruising. Nice work, everybody. Number 5. The dots below show 2 groups of 5. So remember, anytime I see that groups of, I'm going to change it to a multiplication symbol. And I can even bring these numbers along if I want to. 2 groups of 5. A says redraw the circles as an array that shows 2 rows of 5. Okay, so I know I need 2 rows, so I'm going to start with 1 row and then a second row, just so I can keep that in my brain. I only need 2 rows. And then the directions say rows of 5. So I want to make sure that each row has 5 circles in it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'll do the same thing with the second row, make sure I have a total of 5. Now the important thing about arrays is that our objects are pretty close to the same size and shape if we can. And we also want to try to keep them equally spaced just so it looks more uniform. That's how we know that they're equal groups. Because for example, let me use my whiteboard here just to show you really quickly. If I drew that same image, 2 rows of 5, but I made some circles really big and really close together and some really small, it might look like one row is bigger or smaller than the other, and I don't want to show that when I'm talking about multiplication in equal groups. I want to make sure that what I'm showing is, in fact, equal groups, and so therefore, if we make our objects the same size, the same shape, and the same spacing in between, it will really help us. Okay, on to part B. Compare the drawing to your array. So this is the drawing. How can I compare that to this array? Write at least one reason why they are the same and one reason why they are different. So I see definitely they represent the same amount, right? So I have a group of 5, that's 2 groups of 5 here, and I also have 2 groups of 5 in my array. So that's one reason why they are the same. Both show 2 groups of 5. It also asks me for a reason why they are different. Well, they're different because this one is groups and this one is in rows. So this is very uniform, rows and columns. This one's a little bit more scattered. So one shows groups and one shows rows and columns. All right, again, I probably write faster than you, so this is a good time if you need to pause your video and to catch up, but I am moving on. So, number 6, Emma collects rocks. She arranges them in 4 rows of 3. I'm going to take that language and automatically turn it into a numerical. 4 rows of or groups of, they can mean the same thing, so multiplication symbol, 4 groups of 3. Draw Emma's array to show how many rocks she has all together. Then write a multiplication sentence to describe the array. So I want to draw Emma's rocks in an array with 4 rows of 3. So if I want 4 rows, I'm going to start with that. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. And I'm going to put 3 in each row. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There I have 4 rows of 3. And again, they're equally spaced. They're pretty close to the same size. Right? It's not perfect. I'm not a computer. I'm a human being. My drawing skills aren't the best, right? But I'm just making it look as best I can in equal rows and columns. All right, lastly it says write a multiplication sentence. Well, I did that part right here, but now I just need to add the ending equals and I need a total. So I'm going to use my array to skip count, and I can even use it to keep track of my skip counting if I want to. So because they're rows of 3, I'm going to count by 3s. So at the end of the first row, I have a total of 3 rocks. At the end of the second row, I have 3 more, which is a total of 6. At the end of the third row, I have 3 more for a total of 9. And at the end of the final row, I have 3 more for a total of 12. So in my 4 groups or 4 rows of 3, I have 12 total rocks. And there we have completed all of the parts of that problem, and we are ready for the final one, number 7. Joshua helps his father organize cans of food in the cupboard. He makes an array with the cans and thinks, my cans show 5 times 3. Make a drawing that shows how many cans are in Joshua's array. So this time I'm going to do a little bit the opposite. I'm going to take my 5 and then that multiplication symbol. I'm thinking in my head groups of, but because we're talking about array, I'm going to also think rows, right? Because groups of and rows of can mean the same thing. So 5 rows of 3 according to his multiplication sentence. So now that I have this information, it should be pretty simple for me to think about how to draw that array, right? So 5 rows would look like this. And each should have 3 in it. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 5 rows of 3. Let's see if we did everything. We made an array, make a drawing that shows. It says that shows how many cans, so I think they're looking for the total here. So maybe we should rewrite this multiplication sentence and then fill out the total part. We can use our array to help us skip count. So because there are 3 in each row, we're counting by 3s. At the end of the first row, I have 3. At the end of the second row, I have 6, 9, 12, 15. So 5 rows of 3 is a total of 15 cans in the cupboard. Good luck with the homework. Let me know if you have questions.